Hi guys, today I'm going to tell you my 3 habits to keep in mind if you want to run an efficient embroidery business. Stay tuned to find out what they are. So before we get started with the 3 tips, I just want to remind you guys that if you have any questions throughout the video, make sure to comment below and we'll get back to you. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Number 1, keep a steady flow. And what I mean by that is just to always make sure that you're doing something. Even if your machine is running, you can perform other tasks that'll move the process along, so long as you make sure that you're keeping an eye on the machine. Of course, we never recommend leaving it completely unattended. For instance, you want to perform all post-embroidery cleanup such as trimming threads or removing stabilizer while the other garment is embroidering. Now, another way that you can keep a steady flow is through spool placement, and this is really important because you want to avoid having to add a new spool after the thread runs out. You could have more than one spool of the same color if you are using a lot of the same color. Keep in mind that you can also cut the time between color changes if you keep the colors that you'll be using for this design next to each other on the machine. For instance, if you're going to be using red, blue, and green, then put red, blue, and green as needle 1, 2, and 3. That way you don't have, your machine running from one side of the head to the other side. Your machine will take a lot less time to move from needle 1 to 2 than from needle 1 to, let's say, 9. I also want to mention to make sure that your color spools are all in the correct order that your color sequence will be following, so that you go from 1 to 2 to 3 instead of going from 1 to 3 and then back to 2. Number 2, always have backup.
Backup! Send backup!
Having backup could be the difference between finishing an order on time and having to keep your customers waiting. Now, what exactly do I mean by backup? I mean have extra supplies. For instance, you can have backup bobbin cases already threaded so that when your bobbin runs out, you just have to pop it right back in and you don't have to waste any time on production. You also want to make sure, and this is a really important one, that you have an extra set of hoops so you can quickly start embroidering another item after you've finished embroidering one item. I quickly mentioned this in the first tip that I said. I said that you can perform post embroidery cleanup while the other item is embroidering, and that's given that you have those extra set of hoops that you can perform other tasks while the other item embroiders. Another thing that falls under the category of backup that people don't really think about as much is just getting to know the suppliers or the technicians in your area. If something happens with your machine, you want to know that you have someone to call, so you always have to have backup and support. And number 3, which is the most important of all of these tips, is to be organized. I cannot tell you how many times I have been set back because of disorganization, so I really think this is really the most important tip. So what I recommend to you is to set up an organized workstation with all the materials that you need for embroidery prep and for post-embroidery cleanup. Now that way, just make sure that it's close to your machine, like I said earlier, and that you have all the materials you need handy. I also really want to encourage you guys to time all of your tasks, even the smallest of tasks. Why? Because this will help you become more aware of how long your orders are taking, and that way you can set goals to reduce the time that each task takes in the future. Another great organizational tip that will also help increase your efficiency is to actually label your thread spools with the number of the needle. Why? Because this will help when you're actually selecting on your machine what needle you're going to be using for each color. You can just visually quickly see whether your needle is going to be number 7, number 10. It's going to be all right there for you, so you won't have to actually go and count one by one just to make sure that you're putting in the right needle. Another good organizational tip that will also help increase efficiency is to keep a list of best practices that have worked for you with each item that you have embroidered. For instance, if you have embroidered on this bag or you embroidered on this cap, keep a list of the settings for tension that you use, for instance, for this cap or for this bag, or you want to keep a list of the thread you used, the backing you used. This will all help you save time on research later on in the process. You just want to keep a list of things that aren't working for you so that you can save a lot of headaches in the future. For instance, let's say you use a brand of thread that didn't work too well with your machine, or you use backing that wasn't as good as previous backing that you've used. You can keep those things written down so you can remember next time what works best with your machine. And of course, you can also jot down the best speed that has worked for you, what size needle, what size thread, basically any settings you can think of, write them down, and this will help you so much in the future. I do this myself. Another way that I stay organized is to keep my hoops in order from either smallest to largest or largest to smallest. And you can also label them if that helps you, and then that way you'll always know that it has a place for it, and you will not spend any time looking for them. It just really helps to always stay organized. So if it's anything I want you guys to take away from this, is to really be organized. I want to thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below and to subscribe to our channel. I also want to remind you that I've linked below our Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery, and there you can join us and ask questions and share your knowledge with other apparel decorators in the space. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.
Get it together.
Okay. And of course, to like the video after one. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. On top of that, no, not on top of that. Alright. You saying that Maddie was better gave me that little competitive drive to not mess up. Should I say that?
You did.
Number 1, keep a steady flow. And what I mean by that,
Sorry.
even if your machine is running, you can perform. Also, let me do the blooper. Sorry.
I haven't seen that one before.
That's a new one. Are you still recording?
I sure am.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
We need to do that.
Laura out.